Yeah, just want to give a big shout out and congratulations to Moses Moody and the Golden State Warriors on winning a championship. Not many players get the opportunity to get playing time on a championship team, and then also be a part of playing with incredible veterans, and really cool to watch his rookie year and then see how it ended.
Put out the release today about the foreign tour. I know a lot of coaches, they like the practices the best, but it seems like that benefits any team, but especially a team with so many newcomers. Just what are your thoughts about the foreign tour and what that can do for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the amount of practice times that you're able to do, with the 10 practices leading up to the trip will really be beneficial to us. But the games will be really beneficial as well. I've been a part of a couple of these, one with Arizona State when we went to China, and then at Nevada, we went to Costa Rica. And I thought it benefited players. There were some players that really struggled at Nevada. Kendall Stevens in particular couldn't make a three-point shot. And we go to the regular season and he breaks Jimmer Fredette's all-time three-point record in conference. So, but it's good for everybody to get some chemistry on the floor. It's really good for the coaches to play different rotations and look at different combinations, both offensively and defensively. It forces you to have a lot more stuff in schematically, knowing that you have 4 games coming up. So I think it's really good for a lot of different reasons.
Is it good for a bonding on the road?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be great for that. We've tried to do a lot of stuff bonding-wise in a short amount of time. I think the guys have been over to my house maybe 3 times already, and we're going boxing today as a team, and we'll continue with that theme on Fridays to try to do some unique non-basketball activities now that we're all together. This is our first Friday where the entire team is here. But certainly getting on an airplane, traveling that far, knowing that the basketball, once we go on the trip, will be very, very limited. Practice time will be limited or non-existent. There'll be games. But yeah, I think all the team meals that we're going to be able to have, I do think this team has become pretty close in a really short amount of time, especially with the thought, that there's only 2 returners. I think that the 11 new guys, although Anthony just got here, have done a great job of bonding on their own away from the coaching staff.
Coach, you got released yesterday that you guys will be playing Baylor in January. Just thoughts on that matchup, seeing them again, and then I guess the schedule kind of maybe being in the early stages of taking shape a little bit.
Yeah, the schedule's going to end up being pretty hard. It's random, but I'm sure when the SEC schedule comes out too, there'll be some really challenging games. But I think when you're able to make 2 Elite Eights, you're gonna end up with some non-conference games like we have. I mean, if you look at Maui and the field of Arizona, Cincinnati, Creighton, Louisville, Ohio State, San Diego State, Texas Tech. You got the game in Tulsa against Oklahoma, and we know how they kicked our butts last year in Tulsa, and then a Baylor road game, and knowing that in that challenge we played really well at home over the last 4 years or whatever, maybe longer than that, I guess, and struggled a little bit on the road. So that's a challenging game. That's, the 3 in Maui, the Oklahoma game, and Baylor. That's 5 really challenging non-conference games. But it'll be good for us as well.
The 11 newcomers, there's got to be challenges with that, but I also guess, and there might be some positives in the early going. What are your observations on both sides of that coin, positives and maybe challenges?
Yeah, I mean, challenges. I think it's we have to start back at the very, very beginning of everything. So many of the drills, many of the station works that we're doing is what we did in year one. There's just so little carryover. It could probably a little bit challenging for, Kamani and Devo just because they've done it so much. So that, those two guys, it's cumbersome or whatever word you want to use, that they're going through the mundane of going back to the very beginning. But for the other 11 players, we need that to happen. But every drill we start off with, every station work, we try to have Kamani and Devo be at the front along with Cade, Abergast, and Lawson. Those four guys, because they've been through it. And then I think from a positive, there's always a freshness when you have new people. So the roles are completely up in the air. They should be up in the air every year, but I do think when you have returners that have proven themselves at certain spots, or there are some roles that are oftentimes solidified before you even get together. That's not the case with this team. Everything is up in the air with this group of players because, again, there's only two returning guys. So I think that adds I don't know what word you used, Kevin, but it adds a freshness or a different type of feel to it.
Your previous Arkansas teams you've talked about are recognized early weaknesses and strengths. Collectively, are there certain things that stand out as far as players?
Yeah, I think it's really too early, but to answer the question, Kevin, and it doesn't mean that this is how it'll unfold come November, but right now it's really, really hard to score on this team. If a coach is an offensive coordinator in practice, you'd much prefer to be the defensive coordinator right now because we're really long. We're different. We're able to block shots at a high level right now. And again, it's early. There's very little 5-on-5 competition. I'm trying to get as much scheme stuff in, and we're trying to get footwork and technique down, and we call it TNT, talking technique. We're really working on some of those things, but in the limited live action, we should be a very good defensive team. We should be a team that looks different at the rim than we have in the past because we are able to alter shots and block shots. So there's very little rim points going on right now. And we certainly have to improve shooting the basketball as a team. Last year that was one of the areas that we were in the 300s when you look at rankings across college basketball, and we got to collectively across the board improve our shooting for sure.
Eric, the draft's coming up, I think, a week from yesterday or 6 days from now or however that adds up. It looks like Jalen's stock is rising. What do you think about how Jalen's doing? What kind of feedback have you gotten from NBA people? Just thoughts on Jalen going into the draft.
Yeah, we've fielded a lot of calls over the course of, since he put his name into the draft. But I'm not going to, say the name, but there was a general manager of a organization that called yesterday, and it was the first really extended conversation about where did we hear he was going to go, and there was actually two teams that had talked about possibly moving up in the draft. So yesterday were the two most significant phone calls that I have personally received about Jalen. They were real phone calls. They were not from scouts. They were not from people that don't live in the city of where the team plays. They were decision makers, and so I think that's really good when that starts happening. And I've told the whole staff, especially a lot of the young guys, 7 days in from the drafts when everything starts happening, just like trade deadline. I mean, you could pick any sport. All the stuff that's said a month before, it's make believe, and it's the same thing with the draft. As soon as you get inside of 7 days, every year, doesn't matter what, could be the NFL draft, could be the NBA, then it really starts heating up. And so, again, those phone calls yesterday were really good phone calls, and I think Jalen has done a really good job of all the things that we got an opportunity to see him do. Now NBA people are having the opportunity to see how fundamentally sound he is, how well he plays playing dribble handoffs, how well he sees the floor, how much of a willing passer he is, what a great talker he is in practice when these guys are doing their 3-on-3, 6-man workouts. And he has quite a few workouts still ahead of him as well.
Do you think he could move his way up into the first round, or what do you think he's really doing to impress these teams?
Yeah, I don't really want to speculate on where anybody's going to, get drafted. We knew last year that, Golden State really liked him. I mean, there was phone calls. All of our players saw it happening live because they were all at my house, and they saw the phone calls coming in after the 3rd pick, 4th pick, 5th picks from a few different teams. But it's hard to say, Bob, because, teams are still finagling for trades and stuff like that. I think anytime you have a player, like he's going to get drafted, I mean, that would be all indications by what we're hearing, and the draft takes on wacky twists and turns that nobody ever expects to happen. I'm just hopeful that he goes to an organization that really values what he is as a player, and I think that's why the Moses Moody fit is so special, because they really value who he is as a player, who he is as a person, and most importantly, how he fits in to them both short-term and long-term.
Yeah, Eric, I wanted to ask you about Trevin. You really liked him a lot, or you spoke highly of him before you guys played Missouri last year. What's it been like for you getting to be a little bit hands-on with him and coaching him now?
Yeah, I mean, he made 2 threes the other day in practice, Scotty. Threes that maybe, we haven't seen a big guy make, where he shot fake to close out, took a sidestep 3 off the bounce, and then he followed it up the next possession with a deep 3. So, and that's an evolving part of his game. I'm not saying that he's arrived as a 3-point shooter, but I am saying that he has, what we've seen in practices with him and a few of the other guys is like degree of difficulty shots that maybe just don't happen. But from a spot shooting standpoint, that's where we have to improve as a team. But getting back to TB, I thought playing against him that he was a guy, like, if you look into the future, had tremendous upside. And we still feel that way. He's so long, he can shoot, he can run, he can block shots, has to get stronger. We hope that he becomes more confident as well as a player.
Just watching Jordan Walsh in high school playing against some really good competition, it seemed to me he could defend all 5 positions. I saw him do it multiple times. I've heard you comment on that. So far, what have you seen from him defensively? And can he get to 5 positions he can defend at the high major level? Or what's the ceiling there?
Yeah, I mean, I think defensively and both sides of the ball. I mean, Jordan had he had a play the other day where we were working on down pins, and he did a great job of reading the defense that went over the top of the down pin, and he 2-foot faded and made a 3 in the right corner. A really, really difficult shot. Anybody that knows when a player fades off a down pin, and that's because he's got great explosiveness, Kevin, off his jump. I've said it, I think I've said it publicly. If I haven't, I've said it a bunch in staff meetings. He's like a violent defender because of his aggressiveness. We want him to continue with that mentality defensively, but also play within the concepts that we're putting in so that he stays out of foul trouble, because he's so aggressive defensively. Sometimes he can put himself where he tries to stab at the ball, but you'd much rather have a player be over-aggressive than under-aggressive, and he innately is an overly aggressive defender. Certainly right now can guard 1s, 2s, 3s, It'll be really important for him this summer in the weight room to continue so that we can be a switchable team. So physically, our freshmen can switch on to fives. That's the last piece to the puzzle, I think, from a defensive standpoint, is to get to be able to switch 1 through 5 where everybody can go down there and front the post. That's where we would like to eventually get to.
Nick Smith Jr., as a follow-up, what has he brought to the floor so far that you've seen? Has he surprised you at all? Is there anything that maybe you didn't realize he could do? Or
No, I mean, I think, Nick comes with as many of our freshmen come with such, high expectations and stuff. I think the one thing with Nick is just his leadership, his toughness, and how hard he goes. For a lot of freshmen, it's just like it's a huge jump to go from a high school practice to a college practice. But he's been phenomenal from a leadership standpoint. You just don't have a guy his age walk into a college practice. I don't know how many practices we're at, 8 or 9 or whatever it may be, where a guy just steps in and is really, really vocal, from the get-go, and he's certainly done that.
Yeah, Eric Anthony Black, I know he's just been here the one day or one practice, but what do you think about what he did on the Team USA and how that benefited him? And I guess they probably overwhelmed him on talent, but the teams they played, just what do you think about what he did there and maybe how that can help him here?
Yeah, it's one of my great disappointments so far is not going to Tijuana and getting a good burrito down there and watching AB play. But we watched them all on live stream, and I've talked to several of the coaches that were there with him. Leon Rice, who I know really well from Boise State, he shared some great stories about AB in huddles and in practice, and then some stuff in Tijuana that kind of shed some light on how he was interacting with those guys. But I will say his first practice was yesterday, and never seen a player come in the middle. First of all, in college, guys usually don't miss 8 practices or 7 practices, whatever we had. But he comes in and literally knew almost our entire playbook that we put in so far. I kind of speechless. I mean, because I've gone through it all the time in the minor leagues where guys are shuffling back and forth between the parent team and the minor league team, but he literally was asking about 3rd and 4th options on plays. And we got some guys that have been here since day one that are still trying to figure out the 2nd option. And he was like, hey, on that weak side, what's the 3rd and 4th option? What's the read on that 3-man coming off the 4 down pin on the 50 set? I was like, wow. Almost like in a quarterback room. That's what I thought I was in. I thought I was with an NFL veteran QB who was asking questions and had just missed a couple OTAs or something.
One more college road.
Yeah, we got time. I got nowhere to go.
Okay. Well, I got a few more. You said you're going to College World Series, right? On Saturday. Are you still doing that?
I will be there tomorrow.
Have you ever been to a College World Series
Have never
before?
been. Cannot wait.
Yeah, what are your anticipations, and what do you think about the teams? Obviously, looks pretty wide open. I mean, you've been in the Elite 8 the last 2 years, and that's what the College World Series is. It's 8 final 8 teams.
Yeah, I mean it's just so. I mean, just listening to Coach Van Horn's presser, talking about like how hard it is to get there, and it's pretty interesting. I talked to him at the softball game before the NCAA tournament started, and I went up to him and kind of said good luck, and he was confident. He said we're good. We're in a good spot. That was before this thing started, and I went back and sat with Danielle and said, Coach is ready, man. Like he feels confident about his team, and but my son's going over there with me. Riley's going over there, and it's a good little mini staff outing for us to. Michael and I have never been to one. I'm sure Riley has, but it's going to be. We're really looking forward to it.
I did have a follow-up on Anthony Black. Having recruited him and observed him and then watched him in Mexico, is he the kind of guy that can be a fixer at both ends of the floor, sort of like what Jalen Williams did? Different position guys, but high IQs, attention to detail. Just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously with his size, it's really unique at the guard spot. He will be able to alter shots and contest and challenge, perimeter shots with his length and size. But I think what's going to happen is guys are really going to like playing with him, which is a characteristic that's probably not talked enough about. Like you talked about, Jalen and being a different – guys really liked playing with Jalen. And I think guys are really, really going to like playing with AB. Again, I mean, I've only been around him for 45 minutes on the floor yesterday. But I think guys are going to enjoy playing with him, and he's got a high IQ, and he plays both sides of the ball. And, again, just across the board, we got to improve our perimeter shooting. We got to improve in the weight room. I think anytime you have 6 freshmen, the weight room programs at the collegiate level are drastically different than high school weightlifting programs. So, we're asking a lot of our strength and conditioning program this summer to try to get, 6 players up to speed. Because even looking back on our, when we had Moses and Jalen and Debo and those guys, like, the weight room, for Jalen, I thought it was a big step, maybe minutes early on. A lot of it had to do with just, what goes on in that weight room, physical condition, adding strength, all those type of things become really important and probably not talked enough about, with younger players.
Just real quick, just early impressions maybe of Ricky and Jalen Graham and how they fit.
Yeah. First of all, for Jalen, I don't know if he's ever worked this hard. I mean, those are kind of his words. I think that what's demanded in the sand pit, what's demanded in the weight room, what's demanded in practice. So I think all that he's still but he can score the basketball with his back to the basket. He's got a great floater, great touch. We feel he can rebound. This was a week that we need, we're going to have to talk to him about going to the glass a little bit more. But a guy that's really fitting in with the guys off the floor. And then Ricky, he has at least one wow moment every practice, at minimum one. It might be a dunk. It might be a finish in traffic. But he plays with an incredible energy. I've never had a player in 5-on-0 skeleton when we dry run our opportunity break in transition. I've never had a player in all the years, including the NBA, minor league. I've never had a player run the wing so hard in 5-on-0 skeleton dummy offense. Maybe to some coaches they think, they just mention it in a staff meeting. To me, it's going to factor in his playing time that he runs that hard, quite frankly. And he's doing it in 5-on-0. Because what all this is about is who do you trust by how they conduct themselves daily in practice. And I got a lot of trust in Ricky, I can tell you that right now, just by how hard he's running, playing, doing the things that we want.